everyone. Welcome to the Radiant Black podcast. I'm your host, Bash, and today we are reporters bringing to you, different perspectives on the accountability murders. I'm joined today by my fellow reporters, Charlie, Tyler, and Ali. How's everyone doing today?
Man,
good, man.
Yeah. This has been a long one coming. Can't wait to dive into this with a very special guest too. And this has kind of been interesting going back through this and getting ready for this episode. How are you doing, Tyler?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me on the pod. Like, I feel like I was just the loudest one in the Discord whenever I was making no one theories, and apparently paid off. So really appreciate you guys calling me in for this.
Yeah,
sure. We have the number one no one expert on the pod. It's been a long time coming, so I'm glad we finally got together.
Don't put that on me. I don't know. All of my theories could be nothing. Like, I could be.
I'm fairly certain we got the number one no one head right here. If there was a real no one, I'm sure Tyler would know who it was. Like, that's how on top of things he is when it comes to no one. There was some amazing theories in the Discord chat. It's nice because not only were your theories really well thought out and really good, but it also got other people to engage with with the material and everything, and they really responded to it, which was really nice to see. It was like this. We had the ARG event of it all, of everyone coming together to try to figure it out. But we also had this just like community genuinely enjoying that the camaraderie and everything. That was really fun. So, no one, how are we going to do this, guys? We were talking about this earlier. It's a long book. It's a big book. There's so many details. So we're just going to talk about it like all in one go. I guess we'll start with, let's kind of look at it very surface level at first before we dive deeper into the themes, the story. What did you guys think in terms of like, okay, we've got the Massiveverse right now, and the Massiveverse is Radiant Black, and it's Rogue Sun, and it's Dead Lucky, and it's Inferno Go Red, and it has this like defined, baseline in terms of its superheroes. But this is not a superhero book at all. So what did you guys think in terms of that like deviation there?
Yeah, it was different from the Massiveverse, but I think that's what made it so unique and just fresh to dive into. It really, I believe he said this wasn't Massiveverse, or I guess it kind of is.
It is.
Yeah, we can talk about
this whole thing started.
This Black in the ad, bro.
With guys.
Oh yes, that's true. And there's one connection. I guess I'll just say now is Edge News is in this, which is the same news anchor from Dead Lucky, our favorite Max Sands, the annoying reporter from Dead Lucky was Edge News as well. So yeah, there's some similarities, and it was just nice having something in this universe that's a little different and fresh, and it was a lot to get into, but I'm excited to talk about it. How about you, Tyler?
It is really interesting, the fact that they chose to tie it into the Massiveverse, and it's only slight. Like you said, there's the news anchor, there's a single frame where Stay Radiant is spray painted, and I'm pretty sure Marshall's Pizza commercials playing in the background of one scene.
Yep.
Oh, no way. I missed
That's
that.
very neat. I missed that one.
It's all very
I remember that one. Yeah.
It's all very slight, but it kind of informs that this is a universe where somebody in a somewhat mechanical suit isn't abnormal at this point. People know about Radiant Black, so it's not like, well, this is the first time anyone's ever seen anything when no one starts running around. But the fact they could have made it its own separate continuity, its own thing, but they chose to put it in the Massiveverse. And I think that really just flavors everything in the universe a bit more, because more and more people, either through the 001 docs or through salvaging other kind of alien tech, are starting to pop up with these power suits. And if that's like a reality of the world, that's just a really cool in-universe thing to feel. Does that make sense at all? Is that
totally.
It's a little rambling,
it's almost like street level Massiveverse. Like if you think of Radiant Black as like the cosmic, Rogue Sun is more Supernatural. Dead Lucky's more like robotic tech. This is kind of like the street level massive. Don't forget, guys, this all started because Shift broke into that prison to get the book. Like, from the very beginning, it started, with
That's
strong relation to the Massiveverse, at least.
The issue
very
0
true.
kind of No One.
Yeah, you can say that.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
One question I did have for all of you guys, kind of might be a good place to start this off. We can go like maybe Bash, Tyler, and then Ali. How did you guys kind of consume this book? There's many different ways. It was like obviously we had the podcast, we had the 10 issues. But what was the way you guys did it? I'll say for me personally, first time reading it, I almost got lost a little bit. I'll say that. Maybe it was because of the title, Who is No One. I found myself trying to think too many theories and stuff, and I got a little overwhelmed with the characters, and I did drop it off until picking it up in these last couple months. And I found it really nice reading it in 3 or 4 chunks. And I did the same with the podcast. So I didn't really forget any names or anything like that. So I was curious, how did you guys consume this whole thing?
I read everything pretty much. I tried to participate in the like ALG aspect of it also. Obviously since I'm like a big part of moderating the Discord, I kind of had to, but it was really fun to participate with everyone. And once I saw how complex some of the theories were and how interesting they were, and it's really cool. I think one thing that makes it, I thought it was already well written in my own read through. I thought everything was well made. I thought the podcast had high production value. I thought it was very immersive. But I think one thing that made it really exciting for me outside of all that, like not just as a reader but as a participant, you could say, in the experience of it, is to see that like it wasn't something that everybody agreed upon. And I think there was like a lot of nuance to it. Everyone had different ideas of who the suspects were and who their top suspect for who no one was, or the copycat murder or anything, all that good stuff. So that's when it's a really well written kind of crime mystery thriller, because everyone's taking away something different. But I think one thing that also really made it stand out to me as a work that made me want to consume it more, even though I've only done the podcast, all of the podcast stuff up to issue 6, and then 7, 8, 9, 10 I haven't, but I have read the supplementary stuff to come with it. And I'll say it's like how socially relevant it is in a lot of ways, and how like you think about like this stuff right here in the book, and then you think about like the Luigi stuff that's happened over the past sort of time, and I'm like, they're very similar. Like it's almost like predicting that. And I know it's not like the first time a book like kind of touches upon those themes, but you can't like deny how socially relevant it is. Like even like the Proposition 87 is very interesting, right? Like in a lot of ways we've seen that in different places, even if it plays out slightly differently. But so I was just like all over it, to be honest, up until I just got too caught up with work, and I just read the book from there on in.
Love that. How about you, Tyler?
I had kind of a unique start to the series. I know Kyle through a friend of a friend. I've interviewed him for a previous podcast before. And when he announced this series that it was set in Pittsburgh, I made a post like, hey, Pittsburgh, we get our own superhero. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I love the city.
Oh, nice.
And he DM'd me and was like, hey, man, do you want to like read this over for me, see if it feels Pittsburghy enough? So I got to read the first 2 issues before they got released. And I got to introduce Kyle to the word yins, and kind of go over some other like Pittsburghisms with him. I sent him a few links. Because the first issue, August Singh said something like, I don't know about y'all, but this is too messed up for me. And I told Kyle, I'm like, Kyle, no one in Pittsburgh is going to say y'all. There's a word, it's yins, we're yinsers. Put this in there, it will help authenticate the whole thing. So that's the single word I have written for the Massiveverse.
That's very cool. That's very cool. I didn't know that.
So I actually couldn't participate in the Discord at first because I already knew the next 2 issues and I didn't want to like let that leak. But then once I kind of got caught up, I read every issue as soon as it came out, and listened to the podcast on my drive home. It's I was thinking about it recently that it's not my favorite comic book story that I've ever read, but it is my favorite experience reading a comic book that I've ever had.
Okay.
Because getting to see the story and then listen to the characters describe what they think is happening and giving voices to them, and the ARG aspect, like digging into the No One website and finding all the articles, like it was the most I have ever felt like a detective getting to dig into these details. And you're right, it was hard to keep the details straight between issues if there's like a long gap between them. But I think that just made me a little crazier, because then I have like a master timeline of any time a date was listed in one of the books, just so I can keep it straight, so I can be up to date by the time the next issue came out. So I loved getting to read the story, and that's kind of how I chose to experience it, by just going completely insane.
That's awesome. Well, you please a lot of people in the Discord and a lot of the Massiveverse fans. So yeah, we definitely thank you for going crazy a little bit. How about you?
Thanks, man.
Mine is kind of similar to Bash. Up to issue, I think 6 or 7. I was reading it right whenever the break was, like between 2023 and 2024. I was reading it as it came out, listened to the podcast like immediately after, and it was a good experience. And I think kind of like what Tyler was saying with the reading experience, out of any comic I've ever read or even regular book I've ever read in my life, this book I think demands a lot from the reader, like attention and time, which kind of like Tyler said, enhances the experience a lot more. So if you are willing to kind of give it that, you can get a lot out of it. But then, I stopped after issue 6 or 7 came out. And then once the trade came out, I read the whole thing front to back, and then caught up on the last few episodes of the podcast that I missed.
Yeah. No, that's very cool.
All right. Yeah. So when you think about like the book itself, do you unless it's something I shouldn't have. All right. So I feel like there is some connection to the other parts of the Massiveverse, but we can't talk about that yet. So I guess that's gonna be my next question is, do you feel like you could ever see No One pop up in another book? And do you want, and then I want to pair that with, even if you say no, do you want more No One? Like in the future, do you want like another mini? Do you think it ended perfectly? I know we're getting the movie, but in terms of like beyond the movie or before the movie, or with the movie, like is there something that you guys want to experience, or do you think no, like I like how they ended it with the book, I want to see the movie, and then that's a good way to cap it off?
That's tough. That's very tough. And kind of just previewing the movie a little bit. I believe it's going to go through No One's perspective and kind of all the documents that he's been recording, and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I don't know if they're going to go into all of it, but I do feel like there was still a lot of kind of questions that weren't answered. There's still a lot that they can still write about, and I honestly just love the world he set up. Although it was called I Am No One, it was kind of, to me, I thought it was just kind of going to be a mystery, like who is this mystery guy. It ended up being kind of just the rise of this Prop 87 and the effect it had on the society of Pittsburgh. And I honestly just love the world that's been set up here. And I do think there is a lot more for him to do. I believe on the trade it says the complete series of No One, which I guess they could make just a sequel series or make it a different title or something. But man, I would definitely, I would love it. I would love to get a new trade, or them continue the series in some way. I'm not sure if we can continue with quite the same characters, but even in the same world, I think would be would definitely be worth it for sure. How about you, Tyler?
I mean, I'll just say it. I want no one in a supermassive.
Yeah.
I want to see no one teamed
Yes.
up with like Rogue Sun. You know what I mean? I really want to see him or her. We'll get into theories later. Bounce off of personalities because no one's very stoic, justice, gravelly robot voice. And I want to see no one paired up with someone who jokes a lot because I think that would be fun. I think that no one, the story is going to be wrapped up with the movie. Like there's definitely some mystery still out there, and things they could choose to dig into, or they could choose just to reveal everything in the movie. Either or, I'm happy either way. But I really hope the no one character remains because I think that having that kind of street level, darker, like justice kind of person in the Massiveverse is a flavor that was missing until no one came along.
Yeah.
No, agreed. And that's I guess that's what the movie is for, right? The movie is not necessarily going to advance the plot of the no one story, but it's going to answer a lot of questions. It's going to show us the same story from a different perspective. So that's going to be really cool to watch. And
you think about like the book right now is about like the movement of no one, right? It's like this ideological thing, right? And in in bringing this to life, and I don't mean from the story's point of view, I mean like when you think about it as in inside the story, in bringing this like this concept of no one to life, it becomes naturally co-opted by the different players in the book to their own like means to an end, right? Like the senator uses it to push proposition. Everyone uses it for a different reason. Everyone uses the Spatsky guy uses it just to be a dick. It's just like straight up. Okay, everyone has the woman, I forget her name, the mom, Alana. She uses it to be, she just uses it to like get clicks, basically.
I mean, the whole podcast, right? The whole podcast was used to get clicks because people wanted to know about it. Yeah,
so can you imagine a podcast talking about no one to get attention? Like, what's wrong with these people?
Yeah, exactly. But like when you think about that, I think about it, it's going to be like almost that in reverse because it's going to be these people getting access to this information, which is the person now talking about why this movement has come to be, at least from their perspective, from the individual's perspective. But that truth is going to be co-opted by different people to be a means to an end. So I'm interested to see like the inverse reality of that. Like, how are they going to like take this message that this person left behind so clearly? Because he gives it to reporters, but it's like, everyone has their own agenda. Like the reporters are going to say something. I'm pretty sure key players who are going to like want to prevent that from hitting the media or want to, like taint it or like change it to their own ends. So I'm very curious to see how like the reverse of that is going to play out in the documentary. How are people going to take the truth and then pervert it? Because that's a lot of that happens here. Like a lot of people take away their own thing also, right? They have their own like idea of what's happening. And then you get like, for example, I forget the name. I'm sure someone here will know the Nazi like group basically, like in the
Weissmach Brotherhood.
Exactly, yeah, Weissmach Brotherhood. Like they basically use the opportunity of the truth, right? Of the truth of Ben Curran having been involved, like the Sherman thing, and like they basically it wasn't a justified arrest because there was no gun. Like the dude clearly like shot the guy, so they use that to be like, okay, no, then every guy you've arrested is technically not like like we don't know if it's actually real, like because it's
like an unjustified arrest.
Taints his whole career.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like everyone's gonna use that truth to get something of their own out of it, and I'm very curious to see how it's gonna change not only how people perceive this movement, but how the players of this movement are going to operate moving forward, because it's going to compromise all of them in a different way. So I think that's really exciting. Like that part of it it's going to be completely different. It's going to be like a different kind of reaction, a different kind of like playbook. And I'm really excited to see that because these guys did, like you guys said, they crafted something so cool with this book, and the movie is a different medium. You have so much, we have completely different like approaches, like. So, while there are parallels between comics and movies, the way they're going to tell that story is going to change entirely. And I think that's one thing I really love about this book that makes it different from the other Massiveverse books is that there's actually no primary character. when you really think about it, there's no primary character. This is the most like Gotham Central book I've ever seen, where it's just like the city is a character. Every person here is an important character. There is no like, this is the main character. Even no one is not really the main character of their own story. They're just another player. They're just as important as all the other players, the main players, but they're not like, and that's what I realized when I was rereading the book and I saw like the 5 of them being lined up at the last issue. I realized like all of these people are some of the most important characters in this book. They all have such well-defined arcs. None of their stories really goes above the other. You're almost like, you remember what everyone's stake in this is, and I think that's such a good story. So I'm very curious. Like I can't wait to see how that's adapted, and I love that as being its own thing in the Massiveverse. Like there's no other book in the Massiveverse like that. They all have a clearly like centralized focus on a character and their mission. But here it's like there's so many different people. I thought that was amazing, and that's where I totally see why you needed Brian Buccellato and Kyle to do this together, because this is a huge like undertaking, and I'm very curious what they're going to bring to the movie, especially Kyle being someone who has like that director's eye and he has that talent, right, for sound editing, for producing, for directing. So I'm very curious to see how he's going to translate that into the adaptation.
To kind of piggyback off that real quick, and I think because all these characters are so important, and we don't know how the movie's going to turn out. All we know is that it's going to be a documentary, really. I hope if they don't do it in the movie, that they do like maybe an issue or two showing how the movie affects all these characters and the city. You know, like what is the aftermath of people knowing the truth now? I don't know if they're going to do that in the movie, but if not, I would love to read that even in the book.
Especially it being a documentary series, I don't know how much we're going to see it from other people's perspective, if at all. So I think that'd be really cool.
Because it's an in-universe documentary as well, right?
Yeah, which is super cool. And but also real quick, I totally missed part of Bash's question about no one in the Massiveverse, but I think that would be very cool. I think Supermassive could be very likely. I agree with Tyler. That'd be super cool. And like Tyler was talking about with this kind of suit of armor, we've kind of seen this stuff with the Radiant Black Rogues and all that. I think that would be cool to see them kind of interact too, and maybe see Nolan get some alien tech upgrades or something like that. So yeah, but I think that would be very cool to just kind of see that street level going into the cosmic level, and I think it could be possible. Also, especially going back to like Radiant Black 31, the return of this, it is a little bit more grounded, it seems. So yeah, I think
that's what I was gonna say.
There's a lot of like justice,
we gotta
corruption.
be careful not to spoil it, because but Radiant Black 31, I think, makes it possible for no one to actually have a justification. It's a little more grounded. Crossing over. More grounded. There's definitely things that make it very. There's
a little more grounded. Yeah.
There's a lot of
I had a question for Tyler and you guys too, if you guys had a chime in on this one. So one of my favorite characters, but short-lived characters, was Mr. Michael Kern, and this is kind of going into story-specific stuff. But yeah, obviously we saw him. I believe it was the first issue. We get his relationship. We learn a little bit about Michael and his relationship with Ben, and I thought it was a cool dynamic, especially hearing Ben talk about both of them as young kids, and their dynamic kind of as young kids. But I'm still trying to think of a possibility, but like why was he killed? What is he being held accountable for? Does anyone know?
I have a theory.
You go for it.
Shoot it.
Okay. This is going to dive deep into some of the supplementary material. So the 0011.000.info website had a lot of documents in it, which was the evidence that no one acting as a hacktivist released on some of the first people who would end up being victims. One of the most interesting documents in there had to be translated from Spanish, and it was the Julian Colin files, where he talked about basically doing human experiments, trying to create some kind of super person. And the person who ended up, the only one who succeeded in living through these experiments, was a young boy by the name of Reynaldo Molina. And then the document says that Molina's parents took him to America and he lost him and he's ruined. He has to go to America, ends up staying at a pharmaceutical firm in Pittsburgh. So Reynaldo Molina is never discussed in the actual series. His name only pops up in the document. But Ben Kern's wife, you see on her gravesite, her maiden name was Molina.
Oh.
So this super guy was presumably the uncle of Michael and Aaron. Now,
Interesting.
if Michael and Aaron had a super uncle who was going around maybe dishing out his own kind of justice, maybe the uncle tried to bring the nephews in, which is how Aaron ended up taking the fall for the original Richard Rowe murders, because he was helping, but he wasn't the guy, which would leave Michael as one of the few people who could pick out his uncle from a lineup. And I think that's why he had to go.
So is the uncle still alive?
No one knows.
No one knows. Okay.
No one knows.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, he had some kind of super abilities from these pharmaceutical experiments. It wasn't expanded upon, and then Julian Colin lost track of him when he escaped to Pittsburgh. So no one really knows what happened to Reynaldo Molina, except presumably Michael, which I think led to his death.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I was gonna say because he used to cheat when they played games as kids, but
Hey, maybe, yeah.
Interesting than what I had in mind.
Payback.
Sometimes a simpler explanation could be it. It could just be, hey, you cheat. Hey, I'm going so far into justice. You cheated at checkers. You have to die.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, I love how you made that very digestible. I was able to follow that, which I did like.
According to that theory, I have a question about it real quick. Would you say it's possible for Aaron or the real no one to also have some kind of powers from those pharmaceutical?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely possible. No one has undefined powers right now.
Yeah,
we know
he's kind of like Batman, right?
It's like Batman, but the helmet records things. We know that. It has that super flash that can blind people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Bow staff, which is I think just because it's sick. I think it's just a cool thing he can do. The bracers. And the bracers. The bracers looked really cool. I don't remember if they did anything. We don't really know if he
blocked like bullets with them a couple times. But
I feel like he has to have some sort of like slightly like stronger than humans regeneration, because like bro, he gets his ass whooped multiple times, but then he's back like literally in the last issue.
Or it's two people.
I think
it's two people. It's two people. That's true. Yeah.
But even then, because you're right, no one does get shot in one issue.
Yeah.
And then I scoured the next issue to see if there's any character limping like a little bit.
Yeah.
Just any hint that one of these characters is like bedbound or something for a little while, and I couldn't find anything. So for all we know, no one could just be some rando off the street. And for anyone listening who hasn't read all of No One, at the end of this series, we still don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's still a mystery, hopefully to be solved in the movie, but we just don't know.
That's fair. Did you guys like that we never got, like it was kind of I don't know, like
I like it because we're getting the
mystery.
movie.
Right. If we didn't have the movie,
if we weren't getting the movie, then I'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what
Fair
is this?
enough.
Like, why would you end it like that? Because like,
will we find out in the movie?
Like,
will we?
Yeah,
I don't know if we will.
I think we will.
I hope we do.
I'm assuming if the tapes are real, then that's the identity right there, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, because he gives them all the hard drives and shit at the end.
Yeah,
so that's all.
But they are
that's
from his
presumably
perspective.
all his information.
They're from his perspective.
Yeah,
so I guess unless he's like looking in a mirror or something, like with his mask off, we might just I really hope we do. But I don't know. I
hope we get a Tony Stark moment. Just someone stand up. I am no one. Just end the movie. But to answer your question, I wasn't happy with it.
Okay.
Like I understand that once I learned that there was a movie, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, I guess. But I wish the movie had been ready. I know that's an unreasonable demand, but I was so ready to have my questions answered that day.
Yep.
And then to learn, like, no, you got to wait a couple years. I was like,
was a little misleading. I found a little misleading.
Yeah. A little bit.
But but I guess with
like,
the world you set up,
you can't even guess who it is. Like, you can't even guess who it is, right? Like,
not really.
No,
I have a question though. I have a question, right?
Yeah.
What's supposed to be? This one kind of confused me. The whole thing with Clarity at the end, where he shows her the picture, and he's like, "Yeah, that's her." Is the implication that she's alive somewhere, or is she like because like they can't find her body, right? They can't find her bones. They find a picture of her. There's some sort of story. I remember them saying about like someone saw her at some like gentleman's club or some shit. So is the idea that she like survived and just like, and then he just left? And is the idea that Ben Curran is trying to find her so that he can feel better or something like that? I was kind of confused about that.
I think, well, I had a bunch of Clarity theories before seeing artwork of her, and I was just like, oh, well, just throw all those notebook pages out. Because I thought for a bit, I'm like, oh, maybe Clarity grew up to be Julia. Maybe Clarity grew up to be like Kate. And then I saw the art. I'm like, oh, that's neither of those people. This is just a new person. So it's possible Clarity is no one.
Yeah.
Someone who suffered great injustice.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Was left
that's what I was thinking.
Very interesting.
Yeah, because she's off the records, right? She's like, she had time, she had motive. She's off the records. She's very hard to track, and that's something they don't necessarily say for her, but they allude to it with Harrison Gill as one of the main reasons why they think he's the suspect of no one is because he's so he has these loner traits, and he's off the records, and he goes camping. So I'm like, I thought about it a lot, and I'm like, Clarity could be no one because she has the motive. Plus, it would be super badass if this woman who like was wronged by all these people came back, just started like
that would be very
terrible.
That would be very
She's like, I'm gonna make all of you
badass. I hope it is. But because Clarity doesn't right now have any connection to any of the other victims.
But that's the point, right?
But
she's no one.
But she was an escort. And these are rich, powerful people. So it's possible she had run-ins
no one, right?
Yeah,
she's no one in the story.
She just is no one.
Yeah, she's literally no one in the story, and that's what would make it cool if she was no one, because she's literally no one in the story. Like, she has nothing really to do other than being a big motivator, but like, she has nothing really to do with anything happening in the current time. So like, it'd be pretty cool if that was it. Like, she's no one. She came back and just like just fucked all these people's lives up because
Yeah, exactly.
That might be my favorite. That might be my favorite theory so far. I think
because I had like a Dark Knight Rises moment
really
at
like
the end.
that.
I'm like, did he just Bruce her?
That.
Did he just like? You just like left the whole possible. Like because it's just like. But
did Ben figure it out and then decide like I don't want to track her down? Is that maybe what
like
happened?
that's the part that I don't get. What's his obsession with?
I think he wants to let the parent. My understanding of it is like he parallels with her parents because her parents lived their lives thinking that their daughter's dead, and he keeps saying, "I owe it to them." And as a cop and as like a parent to like figure that out because I need to give them that peace for myself and for them. So I think he's trying to find out if she's alive so that he can go tell her mom, your kid never died. Like, she's actually out there, because then he can feel better and she can feel better. I think that's my takeaway from it. I could be wrong. Like, it could just be like, maybe that's his version of accountability or whatever, but that's how I understood it. It's like it's a parent thing because he like failed his son also, right? That's what the revelation they have at the end. Yeah. So he's also trying to not fail another parent. You know what I mean? Not let them go. Not let them go through their life thinking they failed their kid. It's like their kid's there, right? So it's like that kind of thing. Yeah, but I don't know. It was vague. It was ambiguous. It was like you can interpret it in many ways. Yeah.
I do hope that it's something that's touched on in the movie because something we haven't mentioned is the trade paperback. Something really cool they did for it is they redid a lot of the character designs, not heavily, but just some coloring and some outfits and such, to match the outfits the actors are going to wear in the movie, or
cool.
to make it easier. Because you'll notice Julia's hair is different in the trade. She's wearing a lot of different outfits. Julia and Danielle both kind of got some redesigns to match that. And if that's an idea they had when they released the final issue, then the drawing that they have at the end could be of an actress they've already hired. I don't know, but it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I honestly think, like, to Ben's motives here, it's definitely not an interesting theory as you guys, but I think he just has been getting, like, obsessed with this whole mystery, and it's kind of driving him a little bit crazy. I honestly don't think he knows
The thing is,
where Clarity is, but
because he was
all
ready
he knows
to die,
is
bro.
she's alive.
He
was
just
ready
can't
to
stop
die.
being a detective.
Do you remember he was
That's-
ready to die,
Yeah,
and then no
that's-
one
that's
saved
true.
him? So that's
Yeah.
the only reason I don't think he cares about the mysteries, because like he was literally ready to like kill him, like technically like kill himself, because he was like standing out there and he's giving himself. He had no idea no one was gonna be there. He was ready to give himself to those neo-Nazi guys, and then no one came and saved his ass. That's what makes me think. I don't think he.
That's
Plus,
true.
like he would go full like rogue Batman, like Jim Gordon, if he actually wanted to figure out who no one was, because he wouldn't be able to like sleep or anything. I think he just feels like truly bad.
Yep.
I think he never wanted to do the cover up with Sherman. I think he just like had to.
No,
I think
he definitely
totally.
didn't.
yeah,
Totally.
and
He was a
Sherman,
rookie.
yeah, Sherman says to him like, because that's what we did, like we stuck
Mhm.
out for each other. But it's like I think he's a good cop. I think he genuinely like wants to do right, and I think this taints his legacy. And I think part of it is the true accountability of it all. I think he's looking at the accountability from his own point of view. He's like, he did fail, right? And that's why he takes it so hard on himself, because it like invalidates everything that he is, or that he probably thinks he is. So like I don't know, because if it was like me, I'd be like, yeah, like it's hard to argue with what people are saying. And now it's like his kids are dead and shit. Like it's a mess, man. I don't know. He's like, he went through the ringer, man. This guy like suffered so much about this book, man.
Also,
Yeah,
I'll
he
never
did.
forget this panel, but issue 1, when Richard Rowe had a gun to Ben's head, he just looked at him and said, "Do it."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he was ready to go.
Yeah, he was ready.
But
He's
you're
like,
right.
wow.
He's got a fire lit in him now at the end of the series to investigate Clarity, which is like it's cool to see him kind of find another reason to keep on living.
Yeah.
Yes. That's,
Correct me if I'm wrong,
that's true.
guys. Aaron is not confirmed dead, right? It's
No,
just him
Aaron-
and
Aaron's
Noah
not
are-
dead.
are disappearing.
Aaron's,
No,
I think he's in
zero
jail.
chance he's
Yeah.
dead.
I
Yeah.
don't think he's in jail. No, I don't.
I don't even think. No,
No,
he's not
yeah,
even in
sorry.
jail.
It said
Yeah,
they never found his body.
He's just free,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, he's
I
out
think
there.
that drives Ben a little crazy too. I thought that was
Yeah.
maybe part of the reason why he just wants to solve this mystery. He wants to kind of just hold Aaron accountable, obviously in different ways than Aaron wants to hold people accountable. But after that last issue, I think it really just struck a fire under him, and thinks he should be held accountable in certain ways.
Yeah.
But honestly, my biggest question in this too, we find out at the end that Harrison Gill was in the No One suit, and was kind of they've even the cops have kind of said, okay, they're just going with it to give people some sort of closure in a way, so people aren't going as crazy. But what is the connection between Harrison Gill and Aaron?
That's what I was thinking.
We know?
Yeah.
I this is the theory I'm most confident in.
Okay.
Harrison Gill is a red herring. Gill like a fish, red hair, Harrison red herring.
Okay.
Harrison Gill is a red herring. He's probably a criminal. He probably got involved in stuff. But he is just there to be too convenient, to give people who read it kind of a glancery maybe an answer. But I don't think Harrison Gill was involved more than just like how he was connected to Aaron is unsure, because it seems like he did do some bad stuff for him, but he's not Noah, he's not Richard Rowe, he's none of the above. Also, in that final confrontation where Noah's tied to the chair, you can notice in some of the bubbles, like no one's struggling to speak.
Yeah.
So whoever's in that outfit is gagged. And I think that's Harrison Gill, who was then killed in the known outfit and dumped in the river. And then a second, no one shows up. The real no one. So I think Harrison Gill, total red herring.
So, but do you think, because he says, this is what I wanted to ask everyone, because I'm curious. He says that him and no one worked together at some point. And that's when the senator like kind of freaks out. He's like, you say we, and like you've been together the whole time. And he's like, yeah, at first. So I'm wondering, do you think at that point that what he's saying is true, that he worked with the real no one at one point and then they split their differences and went separate ways because they didn't agree? Or do you think he's lying to them and using Gil there to sell the lie? Because like I wasn't sure. like, you know,
I think it's a lie.
That kind of makes sense too. That could work out.
I took it as like no one, like he was just using no one's doxing. I don't think they were working together. I think he was just using his information and
so he's like co-opting his movement.
He was doing that, but I don't think no one really like was working with him per se.
That could be what spurns no one to take action outside of just doxing, like physically take action, because Aaron Kern or whoever the copycat is using his work to justify these murders and commit more crime. But for me, I was under the impression that Aaron and Harrison weren't even working together, that Harrison was just one of the copycats. It doesn't have to be one copycat, right?
No, there were apparently 3 copycats, which they didn't dive into enough because I don't remember what each of them did. But Bash, to kind of go back to one of your previous points, I think Harrison Gill maybe thinks he was working with no one by getting the information and then taking his own actions. And it's kind of like what you said about how different people take the initial actions of no one and then twist it to their own narrative. And he twists it in kind of a super fan kind of way, in a like, you know, parasocial relationship kind of way. Like, no, I'm working with no one. No one sent information to this website and I acted on it. Like, I don't think that's what I think he thinks working with no one is.
That's what I think as well. I think like he had to be like an incel, like Riddler in the Batman, you know, where he just like spends all his time isolated and online, and like then he found, that's why like he found you know, probably like somewhere like he found that guy who's like, I'm no one, like let me look, you can be part of my movement, I'll give you the suit, like you just have to do a few things, and then he's just like boom, now you're no one too. You know what I mean? Like it's like but that's great. That actually adds a lot of new layers to the story. It makes it even deeper because there's a lot of like it's a filthy city, right? Like I don't mean like Pittsburgh. I mean just like the shit that goes on under, you know, behind closed doors in the story. Like
Pittsburgh isn't as corrupt as in no one.
No, of course not. I don't think so.
I'm not in with the higher ups or anything like that. But like I don't think it's that corrupt.
I hope not.
I certainly hope not. No, and it's like I think they did. Like let's talk about the pacing a little bit, and this will be interesting to hear everyone's opinion because like I said earlier, like I guess you guys, all of you here, appreciate it in 2 perspectives. I think at least the 3 of us. Charlie, I think you read it. Did you read it as it was releasing, or did you just wait until it was done?
I tried, but I honestly fell off kind of issue 5 and 6.
Yeah, that's fine. So you guys will appreciate this more than because you read it as it was releasing, but because the gaps and then reading it all in one go. So I guess my thing is like, how did you feel about the pacing of the story, both being someone who's read it in a single issue format wherein there was like delays, and then being someone who read it all in 1 or 2 sittings in the trade format? That makes a difference. What did you think about the pacing? In my opinion, I thought the pacing was really well done. I especially like when it crescendos towards the last 2 issues, shit gets crazy. Like you can feel like it's like Watchmen. It's like 2 minutes to midnight, and it's like when midnight hits, it's like shit gets literally crazy. It's all done, and I think you really see it go crazy when Proposition 87 gets passed. That issue was perfectly paced because it started with the security guard at the garage. Then it went to the student at school, which is crazy. Which is like, that's all kinds of crazy. That's all kinds of crazy. You guys, people talk about absolute Batman #1 shit. This guy did it first. It was crazy. Okay, crazy. And it's set up better here. I'm not gonna lie. So that was insane. And like you think about, we talked about social commentary earlier. That's layers of social commentary, especially when it comes to the States, right? Like that's crazy. And then after the kid, it was the attempt on Alana's life. That was crazy. And I think the coldest thing,
yeah,
Shabazki. And the coldest part of that whole scene, the coldest part of that whole fucking scene is when the cop shoots him in the head, and the cop just looks at Alana dead in the eyes. Like Alana's been saying this garbage on the media, going against the police, arming the fucking public, and the cop just looks at Alana just like this dead fucking stare. Like, and I thought that was brilliant. Like, I'm glad there were no words. That was just like that. You felt it, you know. Like,
did you listen to the pod for that issue?
No, I haven't gotten that.
It's funny you should say that because minor spoiler, I guess, for you for the pod. In that episode's podcast, they interview her mom. Alana is on the pod, and she's like, "Do you regret any of the stuff you said pushing Prop 87?" She's like, "Nope, I still stand by it." You know, and she was like, even if he would, like, he literally went to your place of work, almost killed a bunch of your coworkers and friends, and you're still sticking by this. She's like, "Yep, you're cold." And then immediately she was like, "Nope, interview done. We're not doing this anymore. We're done here."
Yeah.
I think that's also crazy. that was my favorite episode of the podcast.
Yeah, me too.
Because that also had Kate Harper, who was the detective partner of August Singh. Her daughter was the one who died in that school shooting.
Yeah.
And she found out her daughter was a bully. And the bullied kid shot her daughter. And she gives such a heartbreaking performance that I threw away a lot of theories I had about Kate Harper, because I'm like, no, she's so in her feels right now. There was no chance she like had any like wish for any of this to like happen. Like there's too much like there's not regret in there. There's just loss. And that was the one time where the podcast performance affected what theory I had. I was like, no, cool. This is too genuine right now. But to answer your question, like I thought the pace, I do wish there weren't delays. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was hard keeping up with so many characters issue to issue when there was a month-long gap. But reading them all back in the trade, it was paced really well. Like it's too easy to not have any action in a mystery series like this. But we have no one running on rooftops where helicopters are shooting at him and he's like hitting the bullets with his bow staff and jumping off of buildings. Like there is a lot of really cool action. And then you're right, it does ramp up with Proposition 87 happening in the background. And as the only American on the podcast right now, we are currently in the find out stage of fuck around and find out with a lot of politics stuff. And that's kind of paralleling what's going on in No One, where people were like, we need Prop 87. And then sane people were like, no, that's going to lead to an insane amount of shootings. People were like, no, we need it. Well, let's pass it. It passed. Hooray. Oh no, there's a lot of shootings. How'd this happen? Like it's it all leads up to that. And you're right. Like the people like Alana still don't regret it. They don't see how it's connected to what's happening. And that's really such a tragic thing that is, again, currently kind of not to that degree yet, but it's stuff like that's happening. So yeah, I thought that leading like Prop 87 was kind of a weird thing until it happened.
Yeah, agreed.
And as soon as it happened, it's like, oh, it's worse than anyone even thought passing this law.
Because now the people are like looking for excuses to go murder people, like straight up. There's like pettiness. Like you could tell that security guard. There's like pettiness.
Yeah, that security guard was waiting for the day.
Yeah, he was waiting. He was waiting for the day you could do that. Yeah, 100%.
It's funny too when
they look. Yeah,
I love when they were doing interviews and they said, he's always messing with people about their IDs. Like this is his regular time. Now he even has more. Another level to like mess with people.
And then there's Chbodsky. I mean, Chbodsky is maybe one of my favorite characters in this book. Not because I like him. He's a piece of shit. But
he's well written.
He's very well written piece of shit. And very believable in how he like shot someone over like a video game threat of swatting and tried to justify it on the news to the mother of the woman he recently assaulted in a parking lot. Like he's just got such an arrogance about him that he was so arrogant it changed the laws and the world got worse. Like I don't know exactly where I'm going with this, but I thought Chbodsky was just like such a great personification of everything wrong with 87 and like the politics in general in this book.
Can I comment on that real quick? He didn't
Yeah.
feel too unrealistic, right? He didn't feel like this
He
was
literally
too
calls
out
her
of the ordinary.
His last thing he says to her as he died, like right before he dies, he says, "You gatekeeping whore." And then he gets
Yeah.
You know how many times I've heard that this year, man? Like,
oh my god!
You know how many times I've heard that? Like, man, that's crazy. I thought that was insane. No, like I think the thing that really makes this book even hit harder is how there's actually, and Tyler, we have, I guess, Tyler to thank for this. Like, no joke, like partly. The vernacular is so on point. Like, not only are people talking like people from Pittsburgh, but they're talking like people, like the kids talk like the kids. The adults talk like adults do now. The swearing isn't over the top. It's not like they don't set the tone by like compulsively swearing, but there is like an F-bomb or whatever when it's deserved and needed. I think especially the conversations between Singh and is it Harper? Harper's his partner?
Yeah, Harper.
Like they're always like very intense. They talk like cops, but there's like purpose. There's like precision to what they say. I think the tension. Oh, like when you have it reminded me of watching something like The Dark Knight, where like once Joker, because there's a similar pace of like Joker starts killing people, and then he starts threatening people on the media. And the media is always like scared because nobody knows who's going to be the next victim. And the city begins to get really tense. All the characters get tense with each other. The situation just gets like super ugly and people just start to be like on high alert with each other. Even nobody knows who to trust. And I feel like that happened here. Like the police station, everyone was a target, right? Like they even saying like, "Chief, you got stabbed." Like we want to get to the guy. Like you guys, like he was always on high edge. And like imagine like the day, you have to come tell your partner like, "Yeah, your kid was shot for being a piece of shit." But like not that it was justified, but like still like your kid was shot. Oh, why? Because they were a bully. Like fuck.
Your kid was shot, and I have more bad news.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Literally. So it's like, man, to maintain
issue.
that tension is like that's really good writing, and I think it wasn't just at the in terms of what the characters were experiencing at home, but it was mixing that with what they're experiencing at work, and then like you could almost go back and say like, oh, but he told you like, what if you stayed home, right? Like you can make it worse. Be like, remember when he was like, why don't you keep her at home? Oh, you're gonna pay for the babysitter. It's like, oh, now you wish you could pay for the babysitter. Like so it's like, man, there's so many things that are callbacks to little moments here and there. So yeah, I thought it was like insanely well paced, and the characters, just all the characters, even the dumbest ones, were very well written. Like I forget the name of the athlete who Ben keeps calling to ask like about clarity. What was his name?
Chuck Tate.
Chuck Tate. Yeah, he was a really good character as well. Like he really made the story interesting and was like plausibly just uninterested with everything, because he's the kind of guy you could tell who thought he put this all behind him, and now it's like the skeletons in your closet coming back at you. So I thought, man, like to make even the most like minor characters super well written, super like the motives are strong, that you're interested in what's happening with them. But I can't wait. Like even one thing that I'm really excited for is we were talking about with the Massiveverse when we were casting like different characters like Marshall, Nathan, all that. It was super exciting because they you love these characters. But man, Ben Kern, like I'm into Ben Kern as a character because there's nothing really like him in the Massiveverse. Like you really don't have a character as complex or nuanced as Ben Kern, dude. That guy, like, what a great character.
Yeah, he was
good.
He was he was very good, and got to finish Bash's question. Ali can go after me about pacing. As the odd man out here, I really enjoyed how I consumed it. It being very overwhelming for me. First, trying to go month to month, and every single issue I would have to go back and read the issue again to kind of learn the names and figure out what was going on. I kind of did like, I would read 2 issues and then I would listen to 2 podcasts, and then I would read 2 issues and then listen to 2 podcasts. And what I loved about that was, first of all, the podcast really did help kind of with just learning all the names, and added a lot more context than I really imagined it would. Like they really had some great stuff in there. And it added to the story big time. But the pacing itself was awesome. I really liked it, and I was almost like, not that I wasn't going to give this story a chance, but after the first time I was almost tapped out in a way, but after reading it all and digesting the podcast, I appreciated everything he was, Kyle and the whole team was doing so much more. And I absolutely loved it. Like even the whole episode, one of my favorite episodes was probably about the like the no one suspect list. Like they were kind of, because that's what the podcast was called, and I kind of, that was kind of a funny commentary on the book, like all the listeners being mad because the podcast is called Who Was No One, and they weren't talking about who no one was, kind of like the book was, but the fallout from that, like listening to the podcast and then the fallout from that, and just getting to kind of read that right away. Yeah, the pacing was amazing, and yeah, the podcast, I was very happy with how much it added to the story, for sure. So yeah, how about you, Ali?
I'm kind of similar to Bash. Like I said, I read it when it was coming out, and I did like that at the time when I could keep up with it, just because like the suspense.
I don't think it's meant to be read monthly though, right?
Well,
Do you agree?
hold on. Just hold on. Monthly, I think monthly for me at that point was doable. Monthly, but once it
was like 3 months.
Not even. I think it was like November 1st and then December 30th. So essentially 2 months, right? Essentially, it was 2 months between, I think, 6 or 7 or 8. That's when it lost me. When I tried to come back to it, and then I went back to read it, and I was like, no, I'll just wait. And then when I reread it front to back in the trade, I did enjoy that experience more. Just because like we all mentioned, the pacing is great and it kind of carries over. And when you're in it and reading it back to back to back to back, you really have the chance to absorb a lot more of the little things here and there, connect it with something that happened in the previous issue, or think something's going to happen in the next one. It was a lot easier, I guess, and enjoyable for me to read it as a trade. And I kind of did what Charlie did when I read it back in trade. I would do 2 issues, an episode of the podcast, and then like jump back and forth between them.
Yeah.
You know what? I think big shout out to the Discord real quick, because during those big gaps, getting to theorize later on the Discord helped me stay engaged with the story, and helped me see little details I may have missed. And I got bored, so I'd want to reread the issue, so make up a new theory to talk with people about. So big shout out to everyone who humored me in the Discord and chatted it up, because it really did make those gaps feel a lot shorter than they were.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just realized I'm like cutting off some people by accident because I have delay. So I'm sorry about that. Like 2-second delay.
No
I just wanted to say, I think one thing that threw people off, at least some of my friends who like aren't like super hardcore, they're not in the Discord, but they do love Radiant Black. They're reading it. They're not reading Rogue Sun. Some of them, very few of them are, at least some of the ones I'm referring to now. But they did give this book a chance, and they bought issue 1 and just didn't like it. And I think part of that is like expectations. I think they were going into this book thinking, like a lot of people were, it's like a superhero book because the guy looks like a superhero and it's like a Massiveverse book. But then like when you read the first issue and you realize, no, it's almost like this experience and there's details. I can understand why some people were put off like immediately, and they were just like, no, like that's not what I went into it for. I think in hindsight, like probably better being more clear about what the book is probably would have helped with that. But at the end of the day, like it's a business, you're trying to sell as many copies, so I get it. You know you want to bank off the hype of the universe. But yeah, I like once I put like dispelled that notion and realized like it's not a superhero book per se. It's like it's a crime thriller book. I just enjoyed it for what it was, and it made the experience a lot better. And yeah, to add to what Adi said, it just knowing what that is, and obviously reading it, I just don't think it's meant to be read like once every 2 months, like because it's just the retention won't be there. Yeah, I think it's meant to be like today when I was rereading it, I read like 4 or 5 issues in one sitting, just right after each other. I couldn't put it down because it was so good. So yeah, I think if you're interested, get the trade,
because they almost try to pace it like that, right? Like where every issue is a month, right? So they definitely, I think, want to make you or want you to read it like that, in a way. But yeah, I do totally agree with you. And that actually one thing, back to talking about who no one is. I know we've had the theory about clarity. I was honestly hoping it was Mr. Michael somehow not dead. And now that I know he could have superhero genes, right? Some superpowers. Maybe he's not
He
dead,
could.
right? There we go. There we go.
Maybe.
I want to get Tyler's theory on who he thinks is no one, and if Bash and Ali, you guys have any theories, shout them out too. Because who do you think is no one, Mr. Tyler?
My number one theory is that no one is two people, Julia Page and August Singh, because no one had surveillance in the police station. We see him in the van.
Mm-hmm.
He somehow got cameras set up in the police station, cameras and microphones. So someone inside the police had to help him get those in there, or maybe he's very, very sneaky. I don't know. Julia, I suspected since issue 1, just because she's arguably the main character of the book. Yeah. This is going to sound silly, but in issue 1, she had a necklace that was just a hoop. And I'm like, oh, is that hoop the same diameter as no one's single eye? Like, is that her, in Power Ranger terms, morpher, where she just kind of picks it up and then whoop, and then the helmet happens? And then they conspicuously omitted the hoop in the trade paperback. So I felt like that was Kyle saying to me directly, no, that ain't it. This was just a necklace, man. But I do think, like Julia mentions in issue 1 or episode 1 of the podcast, that she used to cover sports, so she has an athletic background to do a lot of these things. And then obviously there's the issue where Julia comes face to face with no one when Kenneth Chbosky tries to assault her and no one saves her. And that recording is also in the podcast. She had enough sense of mind to record herself having this conversation, which is also what someone would do to have irrefutable evidence. I'm not no one. See, look, here I am talking to him, putting it on a podcast for everyone to hear. But how would no one know that she was in danger? Maybe because she was meeting with Singh right before Kenneth walked into that bar. So as August Singh walked out, he saw Kenneth. Like, you can see it in the book. He clocks it. And then just a minute or two later, no one shows up to save Julia. So I think it's a suit that's passed between those two. Because also, I did a timeline of which characters are present at the same time as no one. And obviously, August has been around the same time as no one, and Julia, but never both of them at the same time. So that's my theory that I've been going off of for a long time now. But honestly, I really do like the clarity theory too. That she was no one.
I really do too.
And
I have a question on that. Why August? Julia makes sense to me, but why August?
Like, why would August get involved in it, do you think? Or why do I think it's August?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why do you think August is the second no one?
Because Julia has August saved in her phone.
Okay. That's actually
honestly,
how did you when did you discover that? When did you discover that?
She texts him,
very curious.
She texts him to get information about what the police are doing with the investigation.
True.
And then they meet up at the bar.
That's
Plus, he
actually
has cameras
very
in the
point.
police station. He has cameras,
and there's cameras in the police station. So someone had to set them up.
You know what? That is weird for a sports reporter to have a detective in her phone and have like that.
She is pretty nosy, though. Right? She is pretty nosy, though.
And it's never revealed how they meet each other initially, or why he's her informant inside the police, but he is. So I think that them working together maybe led to more of a what else can we do with this kind of thing.
Okay.
Love that.
I like that.
Love that.
I think that's the best, like one of the best theories I've heard. Probably the best theory I've heard. Yeah. It's so sneaky. And I like the sneakiness of it. Like the fact that it's two people also makes it, like we were talking about how like no one, it makes it no one, but in a different kind of way, because there's no one, there's no one person, right?
Yeah. And no one obviously has a voice changer. So
Yes.
the gender of no
Yeah,
one
of
could
course.
be
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
any. No one could be
Right.
anyone.
100%.
But notably, also everyone in the book presumes no one is a he,
Yes.
except for
Yes.
Julia. In one episode of the podcast, who referred to no one as they. So Julia has the forethought of, well, can't assume no one is a guy, use gender neutral pronouns, and she seems to be the only one who's on that page. Maybe because she knows.
That's true.
So
Might be a dead giveaway
Yeah.
for her. But
It
no,
could be.
I do agree. I do
Yeah.
agree.
But I'd like to hear
that's very
your
good.
guys' theory. I don't mean to propose that, like, what I'm saying is right, because no one knows except for
No
Kyle
one.
and Brian and Michael Pizzuto, wherever you are, you probably know.
Yeah.
He won't tell me.
Listen, man. After reading that last issue, I'm just like, I have no freaking clue.
I'll tell you. I'll
Yeah.
tell you my theory. I had three
Yeah,
theories.
yeah.
Okay,
All right.
3 theories. My first theory, which I scrapped deep into the series, I think by issue 8, was that it was Julia. Obviously, I don't think that anymore because she's like, there's, like you said, there's a scene where he's there and she's there, so it has to be either someone else or she's working with someone. So I was like, it can't just be Julia. So, but because I thought it was just Julia. My second theory is that just to confirm, because again I mixed up the names. Danielle Gaines is the black woman that gives her all the files, right? She's like a reporter. Okay, I had a theory that it was Danielle Gaines because she's just so conveniently like is always there with the information, has a strong sense of justice, is like she is kind of like for accountability in her own way. So she has this like, like say strong sense of justice in her idea of what accountability is and how to hold everyone to account. She has a pretty like objective, like she doesn't take too many sides, or maybe she's leaning here or there, but like she's not like, oh, I'm here or there, like some of the other people are. But then I was like, I don't know. It's also like the idea of like her always coming with like different things, and then like how it ends with someone leaving all the stuff for them. Like I just thought maybe, but then I was like, no. That's when I was like, I like the clarity theory more, and that was my number one theory. Is like I think it's clarity because like maybe I think it because I want it to be more so than anything, because I think that would be really cool for the story. But those were like my 3 theories. It was Julia, then Danielle, then it was clarity. All of them are women, by the way. So I never thought it was dude.
That's fair. That's fair. That would be good. I honestly like. I know it's not. I was hoping it was Michael. Even though he's dead. Now that I know he has superpowers, it's even more likely. So I don't know. I just, because he's homeless too. That's kind of a good cover. Not many people would suspect him. But yeah, I had no idea. Honestly, after issue 7, where we were trying to figure out who the copycat was, and I think it was issue 7, and they, not randomly, but just kind of out of the blue, threw out the name Harrison Gill. Like they were like, oh, it's this guy, and I believe that was like the first time we heard his name in the book itself. I don't know about the back matter and stuff. I'm like, okay, Kyle might just make this someone we've never heard of before, which I hope is not the case. That's like the one thing. Oh, I'm no one. Like it doesn't matter who I am. That's what I hope is not the case. I hope it's someone who's been mentioned or something before. I like the clarity and your theory, Tyler, though.
I will say Harrison had spoken lines before he was named.
He did. He was in the book.
He did speak, but we didn't know a name or anything. He was,
It would have been kind of cool for him to be like, oh, this character who's been in every issue but no one paid attention to was the guy. But I agree. It would have kind of like, there's no reason for it. There's no good reason for it. Yeah. I do like the Michael theory, but I do want to shout out the Carrie Blast account that popped up on the Discord and on Reddit, and then they mentioned Carrie Blast in the issue. That was Carrie Blast's theory. The theory that was being put forward was that Michael was no one.
That's super cool.
And also, I'm going to pat myself on the back for a second, because as soon as I saw Carrie Blast made a Discord, Reddit, and Twitter account within like 3 days of each other and was posting these theories, I sent a screenshot of it to Kyle. I'm like, hey, man, this you? And he was like, nope, not me. So I was like, okay. And then I saw it pop up in the Discord. I'm like, you son of a bitch. You definitely.
So you got Carrie Blast in there.
Got Carrie blasted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's super cool. I did see
Man,
the
if
name
that
Carrie
was
Blast,
Kyle,
but yeah.
if
It
that was
was.
Kyle,
I mean, it might have been Michael.
If it was Michael or Kyle,
might
that's
have been
genius.
Michael. Yeah.
That's genius,
Mm.
man.
If
it was
definitely
Michael,
one of
all
them.
right, if it was Michael making a username called Carrie Blast, telling everyone the suspect was Michael, that's some next level buffoonery right there.
That's
I am
great,
in
yeah.
full support of. Yeah, that is like the kind of shit disturbing that I am fully in support of.
Oh, also, when I said Michael, I meant Michael Basuto. I wasn't
Yeah,
meaning
yes.
the character.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't
got
want
that.
you to think I was thinking the character came, but
Right,
posting
right.
it did. Yeah.
No, I
It's
really love that.
I can't like imagine it being Michael Basuto. Like that's who no one is.
That'd be great.
Just come out and just like, it's Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
He shows up in the documentary as himself, like, well, I am Mr. Massiveverse.
Sorry, that's why he needed the voice modulator. It'd be a dead giveaway otherwise. Right? Yeah, that's crazy. But maybe in one of those alternate timelines where there's a different Marshall, maybe like maybe that was where maybe that's who no one is there. But yeah. I guess like to wrap it up, let's give our closing thoughts. I don't think we have. I think we covered some really good like ground here. We covered like a lot of different parts.
Yeah.
I guess, have one more question. I have one more question.
Sure. Yeah.
Is kind of to highlight the podcast. So we haven't really highlighted either the art, obviously the amazing art by Geraldo Borges, and issue 7. I think they had I forget who filled
Fuso.
in.
Fuso.
Yeah, Fuso.
Yeah.
that was an amazing
Fantastic.
transition. He filled in great, and Mark Englert. He just killed.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about that real quick. Yeah.
Killed the colors.
The covers. Yeah, the colors. Wait. So yeah, we had Kyle Higgins on the script, Ryan Buccellato on the script as well. Geraldo Borges on art, Antonio Fuso on art, Mark Englert on colors, and he did the Who Is No One episode art that were variants for each
love
issue.
those. I collected
Me
all
too.
those
I
variants.
love them. Me
Those are
too.
great.
They were
Those are
so
so
good. So
Yeah,
good.
those
Like
were great.
amazing. And
Those were
Hassan Otsmane-Elhaou as the letterer, the first person in the Massiveverse to letter a book that isn't Becca Carey. So I mean,
right.
if you're gonna get someone that's not Becca, you really can't get anyone better. Hassan. So I'm just saying, like,
it was all so good. The entire creative team was just running on all cylinders with this. And gosh, I forget which artist did it, but my favorite cover was a B cover for issue 2, where no one is standing on the incline, which is an incline trolley system that is right above the Monongahela River, and no one is looking out on Pittsburgh covered in snow. And
that's Mark Englert.
Mark Englert, yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
it is such a gorgeous issue.
Yeah,
and in high school, I was on my school's rowing team, so I know those rivers really, really well.
That's very cool.
Rode by those inclines so many times, and like putting a superhero on the inclines made it so real. It was so cool. I loved seeing it.
It's awesome.
That's amazing, and yeah, it's cool to just hear you're from there and kind of to get that perspective too. One question I kind of did want to say, obviously the whole cast of the podcast was amazing. Obviously Pat and all as well, and who was
Rachel Lee Cook.
Rachel Lee Cook. Yeah, those two obviously spearheading the thing was amazing. I loved Aaron Kern kind of appearing. He gave a good performance in the last episode, and Ben. It was just good like kind of getting a voice to those characters and being able to read the book and kind of hear those voices in your head is always a very cool thing. But did you guys have a favorite performance of the podcast, or what do you think of the cast as a whole?
So far, I'd say Rachel Lee Cook for me. Like, she killed it. Like, let's be real. Like,
she did.
I'm gonna say Lauren Lester. Lauren Lester is no one.
Yeah, Lauren Lester's amazing.
Like, it's I can't tell how modified his voice was for it, but just like that opening speech that he gives in issue 1 and podcast episode 1, talking about like all the murderers and scum within the city. Like it's haunting and a little over dramatic, but also really meaningful, and that kind of sums up the series for me.
Yeah.
True.
Love that.
If I had to
Ali?
pick one, I'll probably go Rachel. But if I had to pick a specific segment, I forgot if it was you or Tyler who said it earlier. The episode where they interview Alana and Hudson, the
Kate
Harper
Hudson.
cop,
Tyler's
Harper,
favorite, yeah.
Mhm.
and she's
That
like
was
she's
amazing.
crying, talking about her daughter raising a teenage
Oh,
daughter.
yeah.
Like that was so heartfelt. That like the
Incredible
performance she gave for that. I don't know, was it 5 minutes maybe of on the
Mhm.
pod? It was so good, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so mad I don't remember who played Kate in the podcast, but she did an incredible job. I think she only was in that one episode for,
I
like
think
you
so
said,
as well.
5 minutes.
Yeah,
But it was
She
a hell of a
nailed it.
5 minutes.
I love the
Yeah.
line from her just talking about like no matter what people have done, like everyone deserves a second chance,
Mhm.
kind of thing. And I think that this Prop 87 really kind of takes that away for a lot of people that just kind of go to the extremes before being able to I don't know, like give people a second chance or figure things out without having to kill people. So that was an amazing performance. I totally agree. That might be mine too. That might be mine
Yeah.
too.
I think it's safe to say that when the movie comes out, we'll all be seated day one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, 100%.
absolutely.
Yeah.
What do we think it will be on? I guess we don't know.
I
Probably
think it said
maybe
like
just
live
black
action.
market black market
No.
narrative. Is he gonna put it
I
on
thought he said
there
select
maybe
theaters.
or
No,
YouTube?
it's
These
like
are
select
theaters.
theaters.
Putting it
Yeah.
in theaters?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah. Oh wow.
that's
That's
gonna
very
be-
exciting.
I'm gonna admit it's gonna be a little bit of a hard sell for people who
Very,
want to read it.
very, very,
100%.
very.
Like, I'm sure they're going to summarize the actual story of No One.
Yeah.
But like, I can just imagine me asking my buddy, like, "Hey, do you want to come see this movie with me?" Cool. Here's a trade paperback you have to read, and also here is 10 podcast episodes you need to listen to. Oh, and let me send you some links for these websites with secret information. Then you'll get it.
Here's here's all my theories here.
Oh yeah, and then here's here's my theories.
Yeah, no, that would be a
Definitely
lot.
hard
I
sell.
think a big seller for them is they do have the producers of Paranormal Activity and Late Night with the Devil.
Do they
which I
really?
Yeah. Yes.
Which I
Okay,
don't think.
cool.
I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone saw Late Night with the Devil.
His expression changed immediately. He's like, "Oh
That
no,
was-
with that kind of production value, it's a different
Yeah.
kind of ballpark."
It
Yeah.
shouldn't be
Man,
a huge
Paranormal
budget.
Activity was
It shouldn't
pretty
be.
awesome,
It shouldn't be
yeah.
a huge budget, but yeah, Paranormal Activity obviously is
Yeah.
I
think
all horror fans have seen that, but
I think about things like Blair Witch, right, or things like that, which to me are kind of similar but kind of different to what's happening here in terms of like the approach they're taking. Or like think about that movie, that sci-fi movie that spawned the sequel with John Goodman, Cloverfield, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Cloverfield was very similar, and people got obsessed with Cloverfield. Like, think about the viral marketing for Cloverfield before the movie came out, where they're giving you like real life mysteries and ARG shit. People were like super into that. They were going real life, trying to look for the solutions and everything. So I think it depends on how well crafted it is. I think I'll be bold. I think if they manage to translate the experience, not directly, but in a valuable way, translate the experience of the trade in terms of, like you mentioned earlier, like the feelings of like being participant, being a reader, like all that stuff that comes with it. If they manage to translate that into a visual format, into a movie format, and keep like the spirit of the book intact, I think it'll at least be at the very like minimum, it'll have a cult like following to it, because I think people do love this kind of stuff, and it just needs to be well done. It needs to be something they want to dig their like teeth, sink their teeth into. So
people love puzzles, man. If people actually like get interested in it, they will want to.
Dude, like think about like Marvel, like there's like a cottage industry of Marvel Easter eggs on YouTube.
Yeah, you're so right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a little industry, like crazy.
You know what? I've changed my mind a little bit. I think this movie will do really, really well if it is equal to No One, like the comic, in terms of mysteries and answers.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of stuff is left unanswered that is answered in the comics. And then you can watch one, leave wanting to dig into more, finding the comics, and then you have all the answers and can go back and forth between the two. There is a way to thread this needle. I think I'm personally obviously very excited for it. and I want it to be successful because that means maybe more Massiveverse movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But
100%. 100%.
I don't know. I'm excited. Like there's all sorts of stuff that could happen, and I just can't wait to see what they cook up.
I think the sooner they release this movie, the better, because it is socially relevant. Like it's so socially relevant. It's crazy. Like if this had come out the month like the Luigi stuff happened, everybody would be talking about this movie. Everybody would be talking about this movie nonstop.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, it's crazy how socially relevant this movie is. Or sorry, this book is. So
I think sometimes that can be a good and a bad thing.
It
can be a good thing because it's very relevant, but we all know how many people tried to make like virus and COVID movies when COVID.
But to be fair,
like, we don't need to watch this. Like we're trying to escape from this kind of thing.
That's like giving someone who's living in a dungeon a movie about a dungeon, right? Like it's
give him a song.
It's like what are you doing, right? But I'm very excited though. Like I'm curious. Do you guys think they said so far? Correct me if I'm wrong. Did they say they're going to try to keep the people who voice the characters as the same actors for the movie? I think they said that, right?
I think so.
I don't remember.
He said we're gonna try. He didn't say we're gonna do it. He said we're gonna try. He said depending on contractual obligations and things like that.
They definitely didn't guarantee anything.
Yeah.
No. But like he said, they're gonna try to keep the cast the same.
I think that would be super cool.
As the journalist. Yeah,
you can just see Patton as the journalist.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah,
100%.
If anything, I hope it's at least Rachel and Patton Oswalt come back for their roles at the very least, just because they've been the most.
Yeah,
they had the most like airtime, I guess, on the pod.
And I'm assuming Lauren Lester will at least do the voice of no one. Like you don't need Lauren Lester to face act at all. He can do everything from a VO booth, and then take off the helmet. Ta-da! It's Clarity or Rachel or Julia or someone.
Yeah,
I'm very curious how they're going to do all that first person stuff. Like even like if they have like, are they going to show the action sequences we've seen in the book, and is it just going to be all first person? Or I'm very curious how this thing's going to be filmed.
Yeah, because they did the 3D animation of that, and it was sick. It was so cool of him running over the rooftop. But then again, I think
probably look similar.
Wasn't there a movie? It was called like Action Man or something, and it was all first person perspective. And that was released, and I remember a lot of people saying they got like vertigo watching it. Like it wasn't the best experience. Does anyone remember that movie?
I feel like I may have heard it, but I'm not entirely.
It was like Action Henry or something. I'll look it up. Hardcore Henry.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. If it's hardcore. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I see.
Yep, Hardcore Henry from 2015.
I remember the movie. I haven't seen it, but I remember seeing trailers for it and thinking, I thought it was a video game. Yeah,
it was very video game because it would be like first person, like he'd hold gun and knife and have to do it this way.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for that discussion. We had such a good time. Tyler, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, man.
Thank you.
No, thank you, man. We love your theories. We love your engagement with the story, and we really wanted to talk to someone who knew their shit when it came to No One. I don't think we could have picked a better person.
Yes.
But yeah, guys, please, No One is out in trade right now. It's such a good book. You can even get. You can't get the classified edition anymore, but it's
a beautiful
34
trade.
Canadian.
It's got everything, all the back matter you need and everything. It's not just one of those cheap trades. Thick. Like it's nice.
It didn't even crease, and I read it. Look at that, no creasing, and it's $25 for this. And like we said, comes with everything, all the barcodes for all the bonus content. The QR codes for all the bonus content, the videos, the movies. I'm pretty sure there's a QR code in the back for the trailer as well. So and you get to see all the covers. I think they included the cover. Yeah, they included all the. No, they didn't include the covers. They included the covers in the inside, but not all of them. But there is, like we said, here's to show people what it looks like. Here's the barcode.
They labeled the issues. They labeled the issues. I hate when trades just put the
jump from issue
in
to
there
issue
and don't give any breaks.
Yeah.
And they also break it up with articles.
Yes.
So you don't have to go to a
Yes.
website. You can read a lot of the articles. Like they have Wikipedia
100%.
pages for half
Yep.
the characters in there,
Very
and that
much.
also breaks up because again, it's supposed to take place in real time. So issue 1 starts off in what was it, March 23, and then issue 2,
Believe
April 23. So having a little bit of information in between does help break it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, guys, pick up the trade. It's incredible. It's so good. Like I can't recommend it. Like we said, we all, 4 of us here, we all agreed that the best way to read it is the trade. You just get everything. The pacing is perfect. You don't have to wait. There's no forgetting any details. All the relevant information is there with a page. So it's fantastic. And we just want to give a big shout out to our patrons. Thank you for everything. Noah, Sam, our newest patron, Joe, Jordan, and Patrick. We really appreciate your continued support. We were promising to drop the No One episode for a long time. We were never going to do it without Tyler. We had to do it with Tyler. That was
100%.
There's no way that's true. Absolutely not.
No. Seriously.
No. I messaged
100
Bash. I was like, can I please be
100%.
on the No One?
No. But like, since you messaged me, is we were never going to do it without you. So
Yeah,
even
100%.
you messaged me a while back. I want to say it was like at least 3 or 4 months ago.
Gosh,
So
I don't remember when it was, but
yeah.
Glad
you
you sent
guys
out the
casually
message.
mentioned an episode. You were
I'm
thinking about
glad
doing
you
a
sent
No
it.
One, and I was just like, please.
yes,
I-
no, I'm so glad
I have
you
so
did.
many
I mean,
theories I need
yeah.
to talk about.
So glad you
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, I'm so glad you did. Because it was so much better for it. And then ever since Tyler reached out to us, we were never going to do it without him. We have to say one last thing, which is for the Return of Radiant Black podcast. We got to read Radiant Black 31. We already have the review recorded. We're going to drop it on this upcoming Wednesday, the Return of Radiant Black. It's super exciting. And we're also going to do. We've had 2 people reach out to us that want to be a part of the show in terms of for an episode. So we're going to do some community spotlight episodes again. We're going to have Eric. Sorry, I'm blanking on your last name, but he's a cosplayer. He does some incredible cosplays. He's the first guy that I know of, and I think confirmed in the world, to do a full Radiant Black cosplay. I think one
Really?
other person. Yeah. You check out our Instagram, man. We
I
always
don't have an
repost
Instagram,
stuff.
but shoot me the link. I'd love to see it.
Okay, I'll send you the link.
That's a
I'll send
good
you.
Yeah.
It's so good, man. And he does like a good Red Hood cosplay. He does several cosplays, but the ones I've seen that are like insane are his Red Hood and his Radiant Black cosplay. Is so good. So we're gonna have him on, talk about cosplay, talk about the community and everything. I think he's also met Kyle like with cosplay on and everything. So very curious to hear about that experience of bringing Radiant Black to life and just his passion for the book and everything. And then we also talked to one of our patrons, Jordan. You guys know Jordan. We know him. We love him. Yeah, one of our biggest supporters for a long time, and we appreciate him. And we're going to get him on as well. We're probably going to do it both in one episode, but separately. So we'll record with Eric, then record with Jordan, and put it as one episode. So it'll be like 2 different segments in one episode. So we're very excited to do that. It's going to be so much fun, and that'll probably be between 31 and 32. And then, anyone else who's interested, of course, in joining us for any future episodes, just let us know. We love having guests on, and it's always such a fun time, like, shooting the shit with people in the community. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. And Rogue Sun podcast, those weird guys. You might want to follow them. They talk about Rogue Sun, and we are going to do giveaways on that show as well. We have literally every single incentive variant of the series signed by Ryan Parrott that we want to give away. We want to give them away. So help us reach some cool milestones so we can give you signed Rogue Sun books. It's a great deal, I think.
I won one of those giveaways. It's great.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I got the glow in the dark Rogue Sun. It was I can't remember what issue it was, but it's like him sitting on like a throne of skulls. It's really sick.
That's a
hell yeah. There you go. There you go. Like perfect.
Yeah, no, they deliver. It's good.
Hell yeah. Literally. We literally deliver. Anyway,
did,
So guys, No One, check it out. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us, man. If you ever want to come back and talk either more No One or Radiant Black or anything like that, please let us know, man. We'd love to have you on.
Hey, I'm always down.
What's the phrase for No One? Does anyone have a phrase for No One? We usually say "stay radiant," but I've never thought of one for No One. Just justice or accountability, or held accountable. Held accountable. All right, guys,
stay accountable.
Held accountable.
Must be held accountable.
We'll see you next time, everyone.